in South Sudan. We are considered as vulnerable, though we form 72% of the population of this country. We are the force, we are the power, but I feel like we are not given that. It is not because we cannot be empowered, but I think our elders feel like this is not the right time really to empower the young people. They see it as a risk, according to me, that's my opinion, that it is a risk to empower young people because people fear the power of young people. They cannot estimate what they may do if they are really empowered economically. And that's why we see that only the elderly business people can really get the money. They can get loans, they can ask the government to give them money, and they can get that money. But you don't see even real projects that have been implemented, projects that can really boost the economy of this country. But when young people go and ask, nothing is happening because there is no trust. They don't trust them, and they don't. I feel like there is no even a will of supporting young people, and that's why I think we should really. It is our role now as young people really to get united and fight for it. Yeah, this is what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There's one question here.
Okay, thank you so much. My question is going to Jawin, and you talk about the capital, the human capital, in which it really like encourages. This is a point that we need. And my question is, sometimes a business can graduate from being only like making profit to control industry. And we've already seen in South Sudan, like we have banks like Nile commercial banks, we have Shettawan Bank, we have a lot of banks that were opened in 2011, 2013, up to 2016. But up to now, if we look into the current banks that are operating, all of us can agree that these are already foreign banks. And all the blame we are pushing to the managing director is sometimes the upper authority cannot even allow him to do what he thinks because at the end it's a foreign bank. So my question is, based on that research, like we have banks that have been already controlled by foreigners. We have a building material. If you want to build a house, you have to go to Somalia. And if you want to buy a food, you have to go to the Sudanese at Kono. When do you think these tangible ideas we have in our mind can grow into controlling industry? Because I was one time in Uganda, and I met one guy working in Makwano Manufacturing Company. And I asked him, how did you guys manage to control? He says, we managed to control since the time of Iran Dada. And up to today, as long as we are here as the Indians, we continue controlling this. And I think this is where we are going now. My question really, like, when will these ideas of ours can graduate to control? Because we are not just only going to work only to make money and to have a good life, but we need to control the industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rakeem, for the opportunity. My name is Anne-Marie Lan. I'm an architect by profession and educator, and also an entrepreneur. And saying that, I'm one of the board of directors of Amigos Restaurant, and let me acknowledge the presence of my fellow shareholders in the room. So my question goes to Mr. Ajawin. I would like to know how, connecting to my brother just said, how we should graduate into controlling. So my question is, how can intellectuality and innovation be incorporated in this forum as the Association of South Sudanese Entrepreneurs? And also, another question goes to Dr. Addis Ababa. You mentioned people been directing you the same question about financial illiteracy. How can we eradicate this? And it's also linked to the chairperson of this forum. Is there any future plan of how to create financial illiteracy training between your bank and also the association? Because I think that will be, if someone is educated, that will not go to the question that has been asked earlier, how someone with a land cannot get a loan because they are not educated. So they don't know that that land can be used to actually impact. Thank you so much.
The last two questions, the gentleman Wani, and then Diane, and then we give it to the high panel, and this is the conclusion.
Thank you, Hassan, for the opportunity. My name is Wani, and I'm the founder of Soulmate Media and the executive director of Impact Foundation. I agree that some of us might not have competent business ideas, but some of us are already doing it actually. Some of us are getting our hands dirty with no funding from anywhere, with no loans, with no anything. We're trying our best by all means to make sure that we have it. And it's actually working, and some of us are actually succeeding. The problem becomes when we talk about the requirements that we mentioned. How favorable are the requirements? For example, when you talk about the tax, of course every business is supposed to pay tax. But then you find out that those who are running small businesses, small and medium businesses, they are taxed so heavily that you cannot even make a step forward. And so what kind of requirement is that? Are you here to support the business or to pay for the business? And again, when we try to look at that as well, we see that these big businesses that are even being owned by foreigners in the country, they have been exempted from paying tax. But us who are trying our best in the field are being taxed heavily. So how are we creating the opportunity for business to flourish in the country? And when we talk about financial literacy, I think Dr. Alisa mentioned that the NGOs and the UN, they are doing a very good job with training and all of these things. But I tend to believe that the banks and our Minister of Finance and the government actually should be the right institution to facilitate that. And then what kind of mechanism, platform, and opportunities do you have in place to make sure that was such a Thank you.
Thank you. The last question is here.
Thank you, Mr. Tan, for giving me the opportunity. My name is Pierre Shon. I'm the managing director of Sigma Oil Services. We mainly operate in oil sector, but also we try to also go to other sectors. Like right now, we have a commercial subsidiary for our company, and it's a travel agency called Peace Travel and Tourism Agency. So my question goes directly to Dr. Adesabama. You mentioned something about high impact entrepreneurs or being a high impact entrepreneur. So I think also to focus on bringing major impact to the society or the community. Could you please give us examples of those high impact activities or high impact businesses that we can do to achieve that? And the other thing is not a question, it's actually a remark that I want to give. I want to address this to the chairperson of the association. We know that entrepreneurship is about learning, constant learning. Without learning, you cannot be a successful entrepreneur, whether reading books or getting or being mentored by something who has already been there. So is there a plan on how to do this or how to achieve this? Because we have a lot of things that we start a business, if you start it wrongly, it will end up completely messed up. And also, a lot of people talk about financial literacy. Also, it's something of a high concern also, because I've met a lot of people who have had money back in the time, and also they were having a very successful business, but due to financial illiteracy, they could not be they were not able to sustain their business. And also about things like digital marketing. So there are a lot of things that we really need to learn as young entrepreneurs. I think this is the right association or the right place for us to learn this. So,
Mr. Oyede, and the rest of the question to the guest of honor. So I'll give the chairperson 3 minutes to answer the 2 questions, and then Oyede, you answer your question, and then we give it now to the guest of honor to answer.
Good afternoon. It's afternoon. And now, with the digital worlds and the globalizations that started long time ago, I think 1971, information has become more accessible for those who are looking for them. the internet almost provide everything. So if you go on YouTube, you tap on anything on your mind, even how to make a sandwich of bagel, whatever, you can get it. But in regards to organizations, Tim has talked actually about this. We have an extensive mentorship program that actually currently the next program will be carried in the UK, and it will be actually, the participant will be 20 people, so it will be in July. And we take people's, because that's the easiest way. You go and see how fellow entrepreneurs outside there are actually dealing with their challenges. They might be different, but an entrepreneur, we know, is a roller coaster, things are tough. But actually taking from the experience and how they emerge and how they overcome the challenges, it could be a good experience and it could be a good way to start. So, and that's regard, we have an incubation center that actually we're working on. Actually also approaching people like Alice and give valuable information in this presentation. It's part also of our goals to help the fellow entrepreneurs to understand actually many concepts about the economy, because we know it's a game. If you do not understand, it would be hard for you, like was mentioned by Agostino, how bad it is for us not to get a loan, and Eritrean knows actually a system because he's coming from outside, he's actually introduced to this. In regards to these things, there will be future programs and then they will be communicated. DR also has talked about mentoring and trainings. I think in this regards also, there are forums that actually does that. Like there is an EY training that is actually happens every June, every year. It's actually give a lot of training on the financial sectors and also how to deal with your tax breakdowns. So I encourage for entrepreneurs also to seek this on their own, but also as our part, as the network, we would provide information relating to this. And we would organize these programs for the benefit, I think, and also we can break it down to the level of those people that didn't talk about that the groups who don't have access to this.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairperson.
Yes, I'm taking much of the time. Thank you.
Oyete, the floor is yours.
Okay. Hello. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. How do we control industry? First of all, the idea of free market is not about control. You know, with capital, businesses are supposed to flourish, not be limited. When an economy is controlled, then that means it's not free market. So the question should be, how do we enhance the spirit of free market? Because free market means competition. With competition means growth. With growth comes indigenous innovation, unique only to South Sudan. Why is it that I should go to Kenya to get beads when somebody can make it here in Junub? Everybody here is a source of capital. Everybody's from a distinct place, a distinct region, and each of those regions are unique to a particular product. So control of an industry, yes, it's being well monopolized, as they say. But monopoly has its limits. You need to look at an economy like evolution. You know, like something evolving. At the beginning, you know, like a baby, it starts to speak, make a little crawl before it can walk. This is the stage, we're crawling. But when true wealth and capital comes, what we're making now is little. You know, the GDP could be 7 billion. Why not make it 20 billion? You know, everybody wants to be wealthy. So controlling an industry is something only limited in your mind. So how do we now make a financial institution, I think what Wani said earlier, how do we, stimulate growth in these small SMEs? The more the SMEs, the more the growth. So I hope I've answered your question regarding the how do we control. But they're very similar. But I think ultimately with the development of economics and also with small SMEs, it is also now for South Sudan to have indigenous financial institutions, only unique to us, where we can provide litigation. Due diligence is very important. I think a legal term would be due diligence. How do you say how much this is worth? I cannot assume that my collateral will be 1 million. It's impossible. How do I assess that 1 million? That 1 million of yesterday is not 1 million of today. These are inflation, economic factors. The price of oil yesterday could change tomorrow if Ukraine decides to withdraw from Russia decides to withdraw from Ukraine. So the market is alive, and taming the market cannot be tamed. It should be free to flow. And hopefully these small innovations and small SMEs will begin to grow, and you will find companies evolving. So this is my answer to your question, and it's a very good question. And I think when, I cannot specify, because if I can say when, I'll be a very rich man. But that's what we do. We speculate in finance. Maybe in the next 5, 10 years, 20 years even, we'll be there on the level of any country in East Africa. Good question.
Thank you so much. Before the guest of honor answer the question, there is a comment here from Ms. Apwala Lawrence. Apwala, I will give you 2 minutes and actually tell the audience what you do in the market. And after that, we will give Dr. Addis 6 minutes to conclude.
Thank you so much. My name is Apwala Lawrence. I'm a CEO and a Managing Director of David Machinery Group, which is the only sole distributor of John Deere dealership to sell tractors and farm implements in South Sudan. We are based on a long control. I want to answer a few clarity on the issue of lending. I'm not a banker and I don't have any microfinancing loan, but I have an experience. Though currently, people is not giving any lending at the moment, but on the process of launching out. Cooperative is giving out the lending. But it's not only about the land, as everyone is thinking, I have a land, why can't I get the loan? The foreigners get eyes in two things. Walking into that bank, they look at you as a loyal customer. You must be able to be banking with them for about 3 or 6 months and above. Imagine you cannot walk in at those banks that don't know you before, and you expect somebody that you have not dealt with before just to trust with their money. You should be able to trust them with your money first, and then for them to give you a loan. That's one clarity I want to do. Number 2, if it is a loan of construction, land alone is not enough. There is some requirement about what are you putting in as a person who's requesting a loan. The bank doesn't give you a loan like 100%. The bank gives you like 80% of what you're requesting. But as an individual who's requesting a loan from the bank, are you able to raise from 10 to 20% of that amount? Those are where we as South Sudanese fail from, because we don't only look at, I have a land. It's concerning about those issues about the books of account, if it's a business, maybe working capital loan, you have to manage the money. Those are the things that bank look at it as well. They need to look at more of it about the proposal they are doing. How will you be able to pay that loan? So I want all of us to look at that thing in that angle, that we are not fighting just foreigners, but trying to put your proposal in order. And what can you be able to raise among those things I've been able to say? Look about the land, about the book of accounts, about what are you putting in that percentage, what experience do you have in that field, what the bank to give you a loan. I think that's what needs to be done here. So I think that's how
Thank you so much. Dr. Addis, over to you.
No, thank you very much. I think you made it easy for me to answer some few things. By the way, people will always think, oh, I have land, I have car, I have this. But the first line of defense when it comes to defaults, when you don't pay on time, is that bank, the first things that the credit officer will do is look at your cash flow. You in a good place and you make money on a daily basis. Banking, yeah, some of you might be worried about the charges and all those kind of things. But the moment that you start putting your money into bank and you're withdrawing, you're actually building for yourself a name. It will make it easy for a credit officer when he assessing your credit ability, the ability to pay back the loan. He will look at your cash flow first. Don't tell me you have a building worth $3 million and you are looking for 100, and you will be like, how come I'm denied 100 and my building worth $3 million? Of course you can be denied simply because you don't have any cash flow, you don't have history, and we don't have this credit reference bureau that will give me a thorough report of yourself. So those are the basic things, and I totally agree with you, Wani, is that yes, it's not the NGOs, not UNDP or all other one to conduct this financial literacy trainings. I think I will urge the leadership of the association to really put forward this kind of initiative to come up with it. We can still organize that. That will be part of our social corporate responsibility. Just to ensure that we give a day, bring some expertise, whether within or from outside, to give that training on the literacy. That's basic things. How do you keep your records? How do you separate the social thing from the business? And those things. And we would want to just do that, but bring it up. I think we'll be able to do that, and we'll be able to actually invite for all of us. Let me comment on the control and protections. I know I was given 6 minutes, but since I was the one to conclude, from our neighboring country dominating some sectors of economy, then you need to work gradually to enrich yourself and take back the same. It is in the interest of the government to see into it that the nationals are also having a full, let us say, control of power in terms of, let us say, food items. Food items now, someone was telling me, if you want food item, you go to Zagawa or those of Khartoum. If you want fuel, even on fuel, see the change. 3-5 years back, all the petrol stations were owned by foreigners. Now we do have our own. We do have our own. Constructions, we still have our own. When you look at the restaurants, they don't think that ourselves love this hotel food. We go to those small restaurants that are owned by nationals. So, etc., etc. That's okay. Now, this issue, control is equal to protection. Protection by international treaty. We are part of this African community where this kind of concept might not be agreed to or accepted. So we need to actually empower ourselves. And the best way to empower ourselves is through the knowledge, through this kind of discussion, creating that forum. Now, I know, Atom, you raised that question before. I remember very well when we had that presentation at the youth, National Youth, and I have given some answers. But let me say this, and I think it is now, this is very strange. Who has Elysee can get the loan easily. And I think it comes back to the way we apply. It's a very simple thing. And now we have started learning. It's not like before, not like 3-5 years back. Now people can come to learn and say, I know also, I have a cash flow, I know how to do this. And at the end, it is a business that will generate incomes, and that income will pay off the loan. Now, let me tell you, if you give me a land in a very strategic place, and you are telling me I want to build a bank, so I will not have any concern. But if you give me a land in Bor, and you are telling me I have a title deed, I have all those kind of things, and I want the loans, of course, this is the public money. That money doesn't belong to the bank. We are just a facilitator. We intermediate between those with money and those with idea. The fact that you have the idea, It doesn't mean that you are qualified to get loan. But this is what important. Three things that you have mentioned. The 9 cooperation agreements were very clear, and we are all, as a part of this international community, we abide by the agreement that we signed with Khartoum. In that agreement is where some people can call it transit fee, you can call it, but what it is, and we name it as it is, it was an economic assistance. It wasn't, that's why it was not put as a percentage. You know, Khartoum says that we walked away with 75% of the oil field, and walking away with that will affect the economy. What is the incentives of them giving us peace? Because we were sharing. So I'm not a politician, but that's our facts. So the facts was that we now need to come in and give them a certain amount, whether the 24 per barrel, and we did not know that, or maybe we know, or maybe we were going well. We had so much money. Second to that, our peace partners, the Friends of South Sudan, has promised to pay that 3.2 billion. Has not come to pass. So I think this is the things that we need to look at. Yes, the percentage or the fixed amount was not okay, but I think it is what it is. When it comes to exchange rates at home, I can tell you, before independence we had, and based on the Act, the Bank of South Sudan Act, where you had the regime that we call a fixed exchange regime, where the rate by then, $1 to SSP was 3.1623 as a selling rate, and the buying rate was 2.9623. I know that because I work at that department. The law says in 6 months we should move from fixed exchange regime to what we call money flows regime. Now, what does that mean? It means that you need to look at the other factors that can help to stabilize the foreign exchange rates. And by then, the rate was going up, and you remember actually introduced the new rates by then of 4.23, and then the assembly came in and asked enough reserve, foreign reserve, that could have helped to maintain that rate. Now, of course, he was forced to revoke that decision, and then on 15 December 2015, this is before that there was a consultative meetings that was done under the supervision of the our vice president, Professor Waniga, where we call people from Uganda and Kenya to work on how to unify the two exchange rate, the power rates and the official rates. And I think the recommendations were very clear. It was in May that there is a need for us to unifications of the rates. So on 15, this is where the new unification of rates were introduced, 15 of December 2015, at the rate of 18.5. And quickly, we have seen the rate going up to, and why? It's because we did not have those tools to manage that reserve. It's because it's not about determining the rate based on the factors that are given at that particular moment. But what are the tools? And one of the tools that are effective to manage the rate is the reserve that you build. Now, remember we had a reserve of 2 point something, and then we did not do what was required then, and then after that, we were asked to now devaluate at the rate of 18, and we could not manage. And we saw the trend. The trend was that the rate was going up. Now, your question was, how come the rate has gone to 600 and now came back to 400? So simple. We had this credit rapids facility that was given by IMF, and I think the idea was to manage this foreign exchange market, and was intended to address the need of the real businessmen and women. I can tell you we are among, I'm among the people who are happy that there is a conversion that has happened between the parallel market rate, the black market rate, and official rate, simply because you eliminate the rent seekers. The rent seekers were actually pushing the high prices, first to the business men and women, and at the end, ultimately, at the consumer. The prices were very high simply because there were a lot of brokers, the rent seekers. Those rent seekers have actually cost us so much in terms of cost of any goods that come from outside. Remember, we are a net import country. So that's the facts. So those facts and why these things are there is because people are now, I don't know whether you will misquote me, but I think what I was trying to say is that we don't have to focus on the businesses that are not generating or adding value. And I think that's the point that I was trying to make. Creative, of course we are creative, we are resilient. And I said that. We are resilient, we are creative, we know that there are so many things that have happened here. So that is not the point. The point is, again, you can still, you might disagree with me, but you can still start the business without capital. And let me give you examples to be very practical. The Company Act 2012, percent of the company shareholders to the nationals. Tell me, if I'm a foreigner and I want to come into this country, register a company. Of course, you will need a national partners. And if that national partner that you trust, because business is about trust, has no money, will come with what? Will come with its connection, will come with its knowledge, will come with its network, and that is what we meant. And it's not what you know that you become a proxy in terms of share. No, a real shareholder. And our failure is that when you become a real shareholder, you don't want to know what is happening. Simply because you believe that those who came with the capitals have rights to operate, has right to monitor, has right to do. No, you have also rights because you are, by law, you are given those shares. And I think this is where we go wrong. So you still can start a business as long as you have that kind of network, you have the ideas, you have with the same. And I asked the corporation, and I believe I will ask the chairman, all of you, really to really push for this, because this is something that is doable, and we can still implement it, and I think will be our contribution as the bank. And it is related to Wani. What is that businesses that have high impact? The examples. Amigos, is it the business that really help people change their lives, transform their lives? I can tell you yes. Why? Because currently, what generates income? What is that we can do that will make money and will be sustainable? If you go to food, of course, everyone wants to eat. That is definitely something. But if you don't need to stop. And I give you might be my personal testimony. When we came here, I came here in 2011, and comrades, they had a restaurant here, was the best in town. And then again, you go there every evening, the traffics, the people who used to go there, there were many. That was the opportunity for them to grow and to capture the market. That's the fact. I remember telling one of those guys that why you don't organize yourself in a way that you control the incomes and know what is that you are getting, the margin, the exact margin, and use that margin to expand and to grow. But by then it was easy for them to have branches. Not only that, they were even providing catering services. And they would have grown very big and captured the entire viewer. I still, you know, when I talk about this, you know, you still come up, and that's very, very, I think all of us will know. You just remember that test that is so unique. Now, it's the same. You can see now some of us who love this, you call it what, pasta. You will see us somewhere here called, you know this place. Now, it's the same thing. It's a unique one. And everyone will love it. And it will go very rounds and you grow. And that's the graduation that I've talked about. Now, is that impactful? Of course. As long as you do businesses that will create jobs, will change the life of others, it will make a positive impact in the life of others. That's what's important. Now, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Agriculture is something, you know, the COVID has changed the way we do business. Someone will say, oh, health sector is top. Of course, in our context, as a South Sudanese, agriculture is an area that has not been tapped in. And believe you me, if you become a farmer, which I intend, if you become a farmer, you make good money. Because you don't need to have so many things. It's just secure a land, secure some few basic things. It will not cost more than maybe 20,000, 30,000, and then you go there. Okay, there's a lot of money. But those are the areas that we should look at. Until whether we like it or not, we still want to eat. Whether you are thin or you are big or you are whatever, you look beautiful. I know you spend, how much you spend like a shower? A lot of money. A lot of money. How much you spend for your house? A lot of money. And why you give it to you cannot do it, you can't do. And you grow from there. Our problem, if you become so connected to the business, you don't want to leave it. I can tell you, those of Han and Dijo here, they will tell you, oh, restaurant does the best things. But you need to walk away. The movement you secure and become sustainable, leave it and move to other sectors. And that's what is important. You follow it, then you grow. Now, we don't need to focus on one thing. It's good to do it and then leave it to others that can actually maybe own it and champion and just work with it. And then you become creative thinking of something because you have that capital. You have that capital. Now, if we do so, all of us, as I conclude, if we do so, all of us, you will find yourself empowering others in all the sectors. These notions that some of our economic sectors are dominated by foreigners will not be there. And by the way, we will not walk away too, because we become part of this world that becomes so interconnected. We are part of East Africa. They come here without the free movement. There is a free whatsoever. Those things are there. Now, how do we empower ourselves? And I think I want to agree with Oyete here. It's just let us work on ourselves. We work on ourselves, we work on our business, and know that you still can compete. Am I actually campaigning for a free market? No. Let me be very clear on that. Because a country that is like South Sudan that has just come out of war need protection somewhere when it comes to industry. Even in a well-developed countries, still there is a kind of protection. Lebanon, in Mozambique or in Africa, is cheaper than Lebanon from where I used to be in Holland. But it's subsidized. How would we introduce those kind of subsidy so that we help the national to grow their businesses? It's still something that the government can work on in terms of policy. We do need a forum where we have people from Ministry of Justice, people from Finance, Youth, Gender, so that they hear the concern and they make it as a policy. Because government, whether we like it or not, are there to support. Yes, the businesses will come, but still there's a need for the government to come in very strong to support the young people, address the issue of employment, and now know that by doing that, they are growing the economy. The GDP that we have looked at, no one will, the contribution of youth is higher than this all is going to happen. Now, as I conclude again, I think there is a hope. There is a hope for all of us to really do something. But when you do things, very passionate about, not just the talking. It's not activists. You can act as a pack, but be a silos. Be yourself. Do your thing. Rely on your own capability. And I know when you do that, you can succeed. If you fail, then you cannot say, okay, my brother, I'm not good in technology, so help me out. Because the work of an activist is the work of a politician. You are not a politician. You are an entrepreneur. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. With this comment, we have come to the conclusion of this launching event. This is the first forum. Next month, we will have another forum on the 20th. We will keep you in touch and we will tell you when is it going to happen. We appreciate you for tolerating us and sorry for taking 40 minutes from your time. And officially, we have concluded our program. Let's utilize this opportunity to network, exchange business cards, and then make some deals from the people who are in this hall. And thank you so much. We still have some refreshment for those who did not. Feel free to. Yes, there's a proposal from Anne that we take a group photo. And the way we are going to do, the high table will remain as it is, and then we come and sit behind. Is it possible? I need some volunteers to remove this table. Jessica and Veronica. And then we can stand here behind. The high table will sit, the rest of the people will be standing behind.
I have a certificate.
Aquan Lawrence, Wani Kulak, Sydney Davis, Miguel, Claudia joining the conversation. Ito William.
1, 2, 3, big smile.